Welcome to the Game Changer 00100 show. I'm your host, Game Changer. And today we are going to talk about pump and dump, or rather, I'm going to talk about pump and dump because this is a pre recorded video. All right. The reason why I waited a little bit on this is because I didn't want to bring up any topics that could interfere with a conversation that Ramil and I had yesterday. So that's why. But now I'm free to do it. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about how I feel about the topic, and then I will talk about um, how can I say, the reaction, the strange reaction that has gotten lately out of the blue and all of a sudden. All right, so first, pump and dump. The basic definition is you meet a woman, you have sex with her maybe several times, and then you end the relationship. At its core, it's a completely sexual relationship that will ultimately end with no long term intentions. Now, I don't see problems with certain individuals doing that. I do see it. I do see it as if a culture were to collectively attempt to do something like this, then it wouldn't work out. For one simple reason, and that is that men have higher sex drives than women. And I don't want to hear this bullshit about, women who, we want it just as much as men. We we seek it just as much as men, or we enjoy it just as much as men. Bullshit. Men do not take deliberate vacations and say, you know something, I'm not going to have sex this year so I can find myself. That's bullshit. You know, if given a choice, we do tend to have sex. So let's nip that bullshit in the bud. Now, um, that being said, because of that, if it's done in a large population, in a collective, what will eventually wind up happening is men will begin to have sex on a woman's schedule, and as a result, in order to maintain the sexual frequency that they seek, they will have to lower their standards, and they would lower it and lower it and lower it. Take, for example, a guy, right, who's an 8.5. This guy's at 8.5, and, theoretically, he should be sleeping with women who are 8.5s or higher. However, in a given population, there are only so many of these women available to him. And let's just say there are 1,000, or let's just say 10,000 single women, and 1,500 of them are 8.5s or better. Of that, half of them are 700 are willing to sleep with the guy. Now that's good. Don't get me wrong. He is a guy who is capable of sleeping with 700 beautiful women. And that will be great for the first 2 years, provided that he does somebody damn near every day. And then what? He dumped every single woman who is willing to sleep with him that is an 8.5 or better. So he goes to the 6.5 and 6.5 to 8.5 range, and he does the same thing with the same results. A couple years and he's done. And then he goes to the 4.5 to 6.5 range. And you see where I'm going with this? Now, all this time, what's happening is the threes and the twos, they're just waiting their turn. They know that you eventually will have to come around to them. Also, what's going on is that the Nana envy factor. Now, Nana envy is something that's typically done on lesser attractive women, on more attractive women. And what they do is they convince they it's when One tactic, one response to not envy that a lesser attractive woman would do is to convince the more attractive woman to close up her pussy. Close it up. So they create this narrative of the bad black man. Well, let's not put race into this. Of the bad man in general. Men are this, this, and this. They only want one thing. If I were you, I would just keep it closed. You should have a 30-day rule. You should have a 90-day rule. You should have a 180-day rule. You should have a 360-day rule. And what you're doing with the pump and dump, if it was a culture, not just a group of individuals doing this, a group of rogue individuals doing this, you'll basically give them fuel to close up completely. So that's the problem with pump and dump as it's done if it's done in large numbers. Now, a thing about the reaction to pump and dump, which I find extraordinary, is that some of the opponents of it are really just under the assumption that pump and dump is somehow as it's described by Alan Roger Curry, a mode 2 tactic. See, here's the thing. Pump and dump is an end. It's not a means. Like the approach, whether you lie to a woman or not, is the means, and pump and dump is the end. So when people talk about pump and dump, they're really just talking about the ends. They're not saying how they come to this conclusion. They're not. They're not saying that, they're doing nefarious things or anything. They're just saying that this is the end goal of the relationship. Now, this is actually perfect timing. So I paused the video for a second, and Alan Roger Curry, he just did a video. ARC has never promoted pump and dump, casual sex, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, all right, so I watched 15 minutes and 28 seconds into it, and this is very telling. And I don't want to make this a hit piece on Alan Roger Curry because, like I said, I'm going to do a book review on Mode 1, and I want to stay as objective as possible on this. So, this really isn't about Alan Roger Curry, more so focused on he is older. And as such, he has a different definition of the word pump and dump and, things like that, hit it and quit it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that we probably haven't heard of because it was before our time. So, um, but it's interesting because he was stating that as a general definition, that pump and dump meant that you led a woman to believe that you are interested in long-term relationship as a means to pump and dump, which I find fascinating because basically what you're saying is when a person says he's into pump and dump, you see no other realistic way for a person to achieve this goal other than some sort of what you would consider deceit or misleading or, yeah, exactly. Except, well, won't even go into the except, like I said. Um, However, if you believe that in order for a person to come to this conclusion, then this must be an effective way to come to it. For example, if I were to say, are you against a student getting straight A's? And somebody was to say, yes, yes, I am. I'm against students cheating. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. Why would you assume that the only way they can get straight A's is cheating? Oh, well, that's the only way to get straight A's. then why are you selling yourself as a tutor? If you know that there is no other feasible way to accomplish a particular goal, then why are you selling a concept of trying to accomplish this goal through other means? You see what I'm saying with this? Like, if same student gets straight A's and you say, "Oh no, I'm against students selecting the easiest professor that will get them the highest grade." It's like, okay, I can understand why you would be against something like that, but why would you? We're talking about straight A's here. We're not talking about the assumed method of getting it. So apparently, for so long, this has been a pretty effective method relative to everything to accomplishing pump and dump. So much so that it has been synonymous. It has become synonymous with pump and dump. To where if a person say, "Are you against pump and dump?" which is the end result of however you achieve sexual access, they assume that you had to have achieved it this way. And they say that they're against the ends, not the means. Highly disturbing. Highly disturbing that a person would find something effective, negate the legitimacy of this, and then sell a less effective method to you. Now that I find very interesting. I'm not going to lie. It's yeah. So but basically the pushback from, and this is what I understand. I haven't heard AMS's pushback or anything like that. This is just from the few videos that I've heard from dating coaches who are against pump and dump. Um, they put a label on it, of deceit. They assume that the only way you could pump and dump someone is to use deceitful tactics. They say that I'm against the deceitful tactics and therefore I am against pump and dump. So I want you to use the tactics that are in that I teach you through consultation or whatnot to pump and dump in a better way somehow. Like, this is something I find very interesting. I'm not going to lie. I was holding it in the past couple of days, but um, I don't see any feasible reason why a dating coach, and once again, pump and dump is an end, not a means, who is coaching you to get to, this is one of the many ends that the dating coaches are trying to get you to, why they would be against the ends. But they're not against the ends, they're in the means. They're against the means that some men use. It's presumptuous to assume that just because a person has reached these ends, that they are using these means. But one thing that's telling is they're not trying to get you to this end. And I don't want to say by any means necessary, but by any legal means necessary. They're simply not. So, that being said, I would like to end the video here. And yeah, this is Game Changer 00100. Game over. Peace.